This is such a big thing, right?
Thank you.
Come on, Jim.
Good morning, Colin.
Morning.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Fantastic. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for. I wanted to be kind of businesslike.
Can I see the other good?
Hello and welcome to Qatar's first sports podcast, In the Game. I'm your host, Steve Mackey, and we can't wait to introduce you to everything that is sports here in Qatar and afar. We're going to be bringing you personalities, company owners, institutions, individuals that are making a real difference. So, with us, enjoy the journey.
It's fun, man. Sports is fun.
Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. Again, you've heard me say it all this week, and I'm going to say it again. We have another cohort from the Qatar Sports Tech, and this is a really, really special one for me. I've said this all along. I've said it to everyone, but this has got a special touch for me. Why? Because we met 2 years ago at KitCom. And I am so ecstatic that you've got into the as a cohort in QST. It was brilliant to see that you were successful.
Yeah, certainly, Steve. We were delighted. And as you say, 2 years since we met at KitCom. We give a great presentation there. We were very, very well received by all in Qatar. And it really kind of sparked that hunger for us to move kind of towards this region again. And definitely, look, Qatar Sports Tech, it was tough competition getting there, but we got through.
We're in, yeah. And this is why we're here today, I suppose. So thanks for having us on your podcast.
I haven't even introduced you, everybody. This is Brendan and it's Martin, and they're from Stable Innovations, and they really have got something innovative. It's brilliant. So come on, let's get started. Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, so certainly, look, we're bringing data to the horse racing space quite simply, I think, we take the unpredictability of racehorse breeding, buying and performance out of the equation. And that's really done through simple data analysis. We've been working on it. It's not like this came up overnight. We've been working on this well over 4 years now. As you say, we met yourself 2 years ago, and we've had a lot of learnings along the way. And we think we really have a strong, robust offering to change this market, for the better. And I think we're excited to get it out there.
Yeah. I think you've done amazing things, because I remember you were pitching this thing without an MVP at the time. And yeah. I admired you, and I was rubbing my head at the same time saying, are they going to get there? Are they going to get there? And it's so brilliant to see that you have, because
it was tough, as you say. We didn't have an MVP at the start. We had a brilliant idea. We had the two of us as team members, and we had a good story. But over the last 2 years, we've got our product out there. We've got our software. We've got it on horses. We're getting that data feedback, and we're talking to the right people. So it's all been good.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks.
And one thing that we were saying just before we came on air, or we started recording, was we had a joke about the journey. How important is the journey been to you guys?
Oh, massive. I would say massively. I think it's probably the biggest learning curve, and the call of the journey is definitely the right thing. I think
a roller coaster journey, ups and downs and fallouts and happy tears, sad tears.
It's a nightmare, right? It is a nightmare, but do we ever want it in any other way? I don't think we do.
No, I think not. I think it builds character, it builds resilience. You learn that not everybody's opinion is the right opinion, but when you hear some good advice, you have to take it. You have to jump at the opportunities as they come along. I think definitely one of the things you can't do is sit back and say, hands up, we tried, we're done here. You have to keep iterating and moving forward with the product and what the customer wants. And I suppose that was a big part of our journey, is really kind of refining what the customer's been asking for and what knowledge they lack out there, I suppose, in the market. And that's where we've kind of moved with Stable Innovations. It's a tough journey being a part of a startup.
Was there any time in that journey you said, that's it, it's done, we're done, we're finished, let's stop?
Morning.
I think COVID probably.
COVID was a tough one. Yeah. We were starting to open our seed round funding January, February at the start of the year, last year, and it was tough. We had to postpone everything because the world just shut down, as you know, and that was a scary time for us.
Yeah. Also, it was kind of a frustrating time because we also seen that the market that is horse racing actually boomed during COVID, because it was one of the few professional sports that was able to be shown live, and some viewing figures went up by 200%. And we were thinking, if only our round had been 8 months earlier, we could have been right on this wave, you know. So yeah. It is that it's timing is key in these things. And I think definitely what that's done is actually bolster our market for moving forward, because we know now there's been so much more viewing this year of horse racing than ever before in recent years. And it's brought a whole new audience to the game.
So tell us where this story began and what you were trying to achieve with your innovation.
Yes, certainly. I think, well, the story probably began out of us wanting our own business, I suppose, to start with. Like we've been schoolmates, and after that we went our own ways. I was very much in the horse racing world. I was an amateur jockey for a time. I worked at race courses, marketing, you know, working in the big yards and with the animals every day. That's what I loved. And it was there I kind of seen the first opportunity for the use of data in this space, because I was in some major yards that had over 180 horses, and they were still, you know, you're missing one or two. And those are the things that annoy trainers. They annoy people, you know, and you're really trying to bring so many animals to peak performance within a certain period of time and keep them there. And I just noticed there was an opportunity there for that. And at the same time, Brendan had started.
I was kind of working on my own 3D printing business. So I've always been in the engineering, manufacturing side of things. So I was doing that at the meantime. And myself and Martin met up at Christmas, I think it was, for a beer, a catch up. And he had this idea and he wanted some kind of technical support from it. And that's how it all started. Yeah.
So when you start, and going back to the 3D printing, that was it. You're pretty much an innovator. That was a crazy business to be in back then, but it's booming now, right?
It is. It's a big industry, and I bought a couple of kits off eBay or Amazon. I built the 3D printers myself and was just printing anything I could, anything anyone wanted. So yeah, it was a fun journey as well. Massive industry at the stage.
So you didn't set your target, and I still keep on rubbing my head, because you've got the love of the horses, you're in the jockeys, you were a jockey, you've got engineering, you can do that type of stuff, you're that type of person, but you never took on an easy task, really, be honest.
No, we didn't. We tried to solve it all straight away. I think that was one of the biggest hurdles is, you know, you see a problem and people tell you, go for it, solve it, and we took on quite a large challenge, and obviously, you know, we, as I say, we're not necessarily from the biggest backgrounds. We don't have big financial support behind us. We don't have big connections in the world of business. So obviously, it took a bit of time to kind of move that forward with traction. And really, it was me and Brendan knocking stuff up out of a 3D printer, reading the white papers, going down to a yard, putting this on an animal, you know, and working through what data was there. And that was very challenging in the early days, but what kept us going, I think, was customers. Like
I wanna who trusted you to put these things onto the horses?
So that's I suppose that's where working for racehorse trainers came in. You know, it came from the very problem. You know, we had a couple of local trainers who had changed things in the routine, and we're trying to get answers again. You know, they trained winners and they'd changed something like their gallop surface, and all of a sudden their season had dwindled a bit, and they were like, I need some more answers here. I need another place to get answers. There was owners whose horses had moved yard, and they were saying, you know, is there something happening different here that's, you know, preventing my animal from winning or increasing in performance? And so that opened the door for us when we approached these guys to kind of say, look, do you mind if we come down here and safely strap something to your animal and let it do its exercise? So that's really how we got in the door, using a couple of those contacts at the right time, I think.
And there is a monetary position on this, but I know that you're there to look after the horses as well. And I know you guys, and that's the first thing that I would say is it's to look after the horses and to see how they're performing and not trying to push them too much. So You're thinking about the welfare, but there's also, like you said, I remember having we used to have 15 greyhounds, right? And I used to have them with a trainer, but what he used to do was he had the obviously their diet, their things like that taken care of, and he would walk them around the field. There was no special technique. There was no kind of massaging. There was none of that type of stuff.
Is that the same with horses? How does the trainer do it? Like, forget your unit at the moment, because we're going to say how beneficial that is. But how did they do it? Did they have a set routine, and they really did go on that front?
So it's very interesting. In fact, I think every trainer has their own wee routines that they've learned and developed over the years. A lot of it is definitely experience based. You know, it's handed down from generations and trainers, and others learn under great trainers. You know, as an assistant for a while, they take the bits and pieces that they like, and they mold that with the facilities that they have to try and get the right routine. And it's a lot of trial and error. You know, a lot of trainers take many years to kind of find their feet. And if something does change, it can be challenging for them. It's definitely similar. I think what's developed over the years is types of training that are quite similar and actually cause some issues, but they're underlying, so people don't see them. You know, a lot of trainers do circuit work with animals, whereby they're going 3 times one direction, 3 times another. This is for their basic fitness, and they're doing this daily, and then they introduce some fast pieces. And essentially, you know, it's what's developed over the years, but that doesn't make it perfect. And there's definitely areas for improvement there. So all trainers use their own techniques, as you say, but they're similar. They're very similar, and that's kind of what helps us as well. Is everybody's kind of looking for the edge. You know, racing training did change over the years. I think, you know, it's pretty much from the pipes in England when he started to train up a hill and using that interval training. He won the championships for multiple seasons going, and they started to investigate him, thinking he was doing something
Shouldn't be.
something he shouldn't be, and he just changed his training, you know. So there's always opportunities in any elite sport to try and find the edge, I think. And this is a very
So tell us how this is going to give the edge. Tell us how this is going to give you the information that's going to really benefit everybody concerned.
Yeah, so it's really developed over the years. I suppose, you know, there's plenty of performance monitors out there, just as there is for humans. There's performance monitors, but they're all very much based around data, and then data is only as good as it's interpreted, and only as insightful as what the person wants to glean from it. So we moved even beyond that to a space whereby we know there's data generated in the industry, you know, and those at the top level, the likes of Coolmore, they succeed because they use what data they have to drive their decisions. So what we started to do was looking at where and when can we collect data to give insights. So right back to the very start, from when they're bred, you know, there's data coming off these animals from the moment they hit the ground, their pedigrees, how they move, all sorts of information. And then right through to when they're being trained, as we kind of come in with our monitor. So essentially we've molded the two together. We looked at it and we said, you know, where are these challenges that are worth, you know, putting the effort into to analyze and solve for the buyer, the breeder, the trainer. And really what we came to was the first is about value of this animal, because we all know personally they have a great value to their owners. But in this system, you know, the value of the animal is very subjective. If you go to a sales ring, you have what the buyer wants, what the seller's willing, you know, to let it go for, and the bloodstock agent who's negotiating in between, along with the sales ring. Whereas once they leave that ring, their value is potentially unknown for possibly many years, you know. And that's the interesting thing about this sport, is you don't buy a car and the next day you don't know how much it's worth. You know how much it's depreciated by, so you still know the value of it, you know. So
you can look at a car website such as Auto Trader or whatever, and you can check how much it's worth. But for a horse, you don't know until you go to the sales ring, and that could be another 6 months or a year. So in that space, you just don't know how much your horse worth. And in the meantime, you're paying thousands of pounds a month to look after that horse, to train it, and you still don't know what your asset is worth. So that's where we kind of come in, you know?
So certainly we use that first piece of data in what we call our public estimated value, the PEV, and that virtually creates a live value that will live with this animal through training and in the racing. And that's where our monitor then comes in. So we're able then to supply that monitor to help improve not only his value, but the insights that can be given to ensure that this top performer stays at the top level and peaks when he's meant to. So very much we use sophisticated algorithms that we've been working on to help ensure that we know, you know, it's not about a trainer sitting looking at charts going up and down heart rate. He's 200 horses. That's not of value to a trainer or to an owner who has maybe 60 horses. But what is potentially a fit score, a health score, to know that the animal is healthy to compete, and to know at what level he's actually going to peak, and if we can keep him at that sort of level. So we've went into the insights instead of just the charts, because that's very much, if you're an equine scientist, or if you have one horse in the back garden and you're interested in heart rates, you might look at that. So that's where our solution comes into the market, I think.
But your solution is going to help me. If I've got a horse, I can determine what length of race he's going to be running in. I can see where he's going to drop off. So it's pointless putting him in any further, because that's his limits.
Yeah, 100%. It will give you insights to what your training is achieving. You know, we look at it as within terms of time, because obviously data is only as valuable as it is over time. When we can look back at historical data and try and predict what comes forth. So we very much so we look at the first kind of week is setting the norms in the yard for those animals, and then we start to look at, you know, where are these animals in terms of their progression to their fit score, and when they're coming to their peak. So, you know, I need to target a race within 3 weeks. We need to look at a different race. And you know, there's just such a range of value this product creates for the industry. It's absolutely amazing, I think. And that's very much what we're aiming to do, is add value to this and let people see, probably show the value that's there, really.
Yeah, and that brings us to, you know, a potential customer such as media. You know, if you look at Formula One or golf, you have fantastic visual metrics that you can show the person watching it. Horse racing, there's zero. There's a bit of pace, but that's it. You know, we can bring that. You know, you look at Formula One, we can show you how much fuel's left in this horse. You know, can he finish this race? Has he got the potential to do it? So that's where the value can be beneficial further down the line.
From a training perspective, from a well-being, from understanding about your horse, because that's the one thing that I know with people that have owned horses. They're not just doing it for the racing side. That's the fun of the fair, but they get a real bond with these animals. And I suppose that this is just one of those things that, from a well-being, you're going to make sure that you can constantly see that your horses are being well looked after.
It brings a whole new level of integrity to it, really, doesn't it? Like, and I think that's absolutely brilliant. It lets them connect with their animal at a new level. And it lets them know that this animal is being trained, you know, every day. It's not a case of there has to be such trust with potentially a trainer who some of these guys might not meet more than once a year, you know. And it very much brings those new insights that let people have the chance to engage deeper with their animal, I suppose. And that's one thing, you know, if horses could talk, we'd learn a lot, is what they always say. So I think this is a way of giving them a voice, you know.
But it is exactly that. It's a way to give them a voice, because you don't know what's going on in there, but you can see from their performances whether they're on top form, whether they're not on top form. You said something earlier, and I want to tap back onto now. You said that there's quite a few of these things that's maybe in the marketplace. What makes yours stand out above everybody else?
Yeah, so certainly, as say, our focus is on data more so than device. So one of the key things is usability of these products. You know, a lot of them are big, chunky, bulky, can't be transferred from animal to animal, risk of disease transfer, rubbing horses. So we've very much focused on the user, you know, and I have a lot of experience, obviously, riding out in yards ourselves. We test these in yards daily, and we take all that feedback to make it the simplest it can be. Essentially, we will get to a stage whereby, bar putting the device on, nobody needs to engage with this device. You know, the data will be streaming from it, you know, and at the minute we're making it as simple as possible. You know, it's very much part of the tack that exists already. It goes on the animal, and it's just about selecting the correct animal. And, you know, it's so seamless. That's the glorious thing about our device. And that's really where I push for, because, as I say, last thing you need is to be going in the yard with 60 horses. You're 5 minutes late to the training ring because you've been trying to get a device on. When you get there, it's not connected, and everybody's losing their mind because the owner's waiting to watch it go around the track. So it very much so.
It's a good point. Yeah, we don't want that happening.
Oh dear, it must have. I love your journey. I do love your journey. I remember talking to you back then, and I'm thinking, it sounds perfect. It sounds perfect. And I felt for you, because you were raising finance investors.
Yeah.
And just on that front, how did you find that? Were you used to it, or was it something new to get used to?
Very new. Raising money, I think, is the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very draining. One investor wants one thing, another investor wants another, so you have to constantly tailor your approach.
Yeah,
but it's a learning curve.
Yeah. And you're trying not to lose your goal either. Like at the end of the day, you know, our goal isn't really about getting money; it's about solving a problem. You know, and we have to get money to get there, but it's very much about keeping the horse at the core of all this. And as you say, like it's the passionate people that we want to find. I think that's what we learned on the journey too. Is there's a lot of VCs in the world, but we need to find the ones with passion for sport and then passion for racing, or a connection to racing to kind of help make us go forward in the right direction. And that's very challenging.
I don't love it. I can feel the pain when it comes to startups and they're trying to find investors, because that's the holy grail, right? Everybody seems to think it's either get traction or find some investment that can help you get the traction. But sometimes you've got to do without it, because it's a totally different new skill set to what you're accustomed to.
Yeah.
No, and so the ups and downs, we talk about the roller coaster, but the ups and downs of getting it right or being demoralized because they shut you down straight away and it wasn't something that they wanted, and then you take doubts and disbelief in what you're doing. It's so tough, and it's something that I'm glad that we're going over today, so that we could say to people, hey, listen, just keep going.
Yeah, definitely. It's the only advice that really it's sounded that is just to keep going. You know, some guy will say no, but there's still another 1,000 doors you can knock on. You know that, and someone will say yes. You know, we're finding the right people every day.
Yeah.
Not only investors, but mentors and customers and people who we can soundboard against. So
yeah,
the people are there.
What's it like? And I really, when I saw you in the top 10, I was ecstatic. Literally, I was ecstatic. What is it like now being in the QST? What is it doing for you?
Oh yeah, it's opening up a lot more doors, and it's give us a lot more kind of backing and reassurance too, that you know look at we're in the hub of sports tech in the world globally. You know, look what we're doing in Qatar. We've got the contacts over here. Unfortunately, we were meant to do a few trials over there, but due to COVID, we can't get out. Maybe we'll get out at the end of the year. So it has given us that reassurance and backing that, you know, this product is global. We can go anywhere with it, and we can solve the problem anywhere.
Yeah, and that's one of the key things, I suppose, is what we realize is there's true scalability in this solution now. You know, it's something that this market probably has never had before, but it's absolutely amazing to have the opportunity to be part of that in the Middle East region.
I tell you, I know one thing that you're going to have to move into very, very quickly. And if not, you're probably going to say to me that you're already looking into it already. But I know that this was something that we spoke about 2 years ago, and it was transferring that technology over to camel racing.
Yeah, 100%. We've had a lot of talks since then. We actually
you cracked that one. You cracked that one. That's another marketplace that you're going to absolutely flourish in.
Yeah, 100%. I remember the first time we went out there, and we heard camel racing was the big thing, and you're talking to people back home, and they're like, "How's it going? Have you got near any horses?" And like, "Oh, we're out looking at a camel track today." You know, it was very, very entertaining to the people back home. But certainly, it's such a huge market, and the passion is so similar. That's what we found.
100%. And I literally remember going around to some, because I said that we were going to try and look for people, because a friend of ours introduced us. Or it was, no, I'll tell you who it was. It was Caroline Fit.
Caroline Fit, yeah.
And you'd seen a friend of mine at the at Rashid at the I love it, Al Shakab.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
That's the
palace.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't want to wake
place.
up to that every morning.
And I've got another person for you when you come over, and his name is Abid, and he's in the Federation for horse equestrian. So he's
brilliant.
Another one, and he wants to hook up with you to see exactly what, because I've told him all about you, and he's another person that's going to want to talk to you. But definitely, I remember those 2 years back. I literally went to trainers to try to talk to them about your product, but all they could see, no matter how much I tried to explain it to them, all they could see was they wanted me to try and fix how the jockey goat works on the camel. So every time I went to somebody to try to tell people about your product, they were going to the, look, I want the jockey working better.
Yeah, no, certainly it's the camel racing is an industry that's very interesting over there, but also it's quite difficult unless you know the right people, I think, to get to the place, you know, whereby you can have good solid talks with people on that. You know, we definitely had a few conversations across a number of months, but again, Qatar's a region where a lot of things have to be done face to face, you know, and that's one of the benefits we're looking forward to when we can actually get out there.
Got to touch it, feel it, experience it, and I think that's what the benefits you are. And it brings me on to my next thing is it touch it, feel it. What has it been like with the test so far, and how has people embraced it since you've been trialing it?
Yeah, it's been a very good response. As you know, 2 years ago we said we've got this idea. They're like, "Well, come back to me once you get it," you know. And now we're back here. We've got it on horses at the minute. You know, we're doing testing, validation pieces. We're doing trials and pilots, and it's been very good reception. People are loving it. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's very good, and like it's interesting, even with, because obviously we're such database too. Like we have the element to give them a taste of it without having to physically be there. You know, they can look at that PEV and see as it kind of can change, and they can visualize that for themselves when it comes to these animals, which I think is great. So I think it's a brilliant mix. We're in a very good place right now, and I say, like, we haven't sat on our laurels for that time. It's been a lot of customer feedback. There's been a lot of stuff that we've learned, even from the basics of how do we get it so simple for these guys to use, you know.
And you've just said something. We've learned a lot as we've gone along. How much have you learned, and how different are you from the start to where you are now?
Did you write a book yet? I think we could.
I feel like we're different people, to be honest. It's nearly an addiction, I think. Startup space. It's quite strange. It's such a high pressure. You know, there's a lot of demand, a lot of self-demand, I think, too. And that very much changes your character. I would have definitely said that I was not as outspoken as I am now. You know, you learn a lot of communication skills.
Yeah.
You know, presenting was something I remember 5 years ago, neither of us were very keen on. You know, it wasn't something, putting ourselves out in the kind of...
Standing up in front of a crowd, pitching, you know, wasn't something we've ever done before,
you know,
but now we're happily doing it.
I think a kick call we might have drawn straws for who got that one. So I lost last minute, and that was it, because we had to go for it. But it was actually one of the real catalysts where we got such a brilliant response. You know, that was the first time we had been outside of Ireland with our product, you know, and with our pitch. And the response we got at KickCon was absolutely amazing. The amount of passionate people
came up to us and said, "Great pitch, love your product. Let's talk more about it."
Thanks, brilliant. You know, it was absolutely that. We probably wouldn't have taken that opportunity, you know, if it had been a few months earlier. But it just, as I say, timing just seems to work out some.
It's funny how you should say this, that everybody's sometimes, the stories that I've been doing with these interviews, and we've done quite a few now. It's going to be, by the time these go out, it's going to be over 200, 110 we've done. And it's remarkable how sports people, how business people have got the similar traits. You know, they've all got the similar traits. It's kind of, this all comes out in bags. You know, it's what the DNA we've all got. It's stickability. It's not giving in. It's kind of just keep going, just keep pushing forward. And the one thing I want to ask you two now is that we're talking, how close have you two become? Do you know each other's strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah.
I bet you're like a married couple, right?
Yeah, and sometimes we end up wearing the same clothes. It's strange. You turn up on a Thursday and like, did you pick that red jumper? I picked that red jumper too. You know, so it's 100%. I think it's crazy how close you get, you know, but you're spending so much time with each other. You kind of have that shared goal. And then you do, strengths and weaknesses 100%. I think definitely I've become more organized working with Brendan. I think there's no doubt there. You know, sometimes I'm maybe too passionate. You know, you have to rein things back in and get it structured to actually achieve it. And I think that's definitely one thing I've definitely learned from working with Brendan, such closeness, you know.
Yeah. I've learned a lot more about horses, so
it's brilliant, right? And let's talk about the nice thing. It's like the journey. How important it's like when you're going to look back and tell the kids, would it have been, would you have liked it where you made this work in 6 months?
Would I have liked it? I don't know. I think if you had asked me that maybe 2 years ago, I would have said yes.
Yeah.
I think now I would say I don't think so. I think there's so much to be learned along the way. And I think we still have so much more to learn on this journey, but we're at a place now where we're very happy. You know, if success came that quick, I think you'd struggle with it. You know, I think you really would. If it was within 6 months you were up and running and going, I think you need that time to kind of craft your character and your resilience and work out your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. Where you're going.
What's your hopes for this next year? What targets have you set yourself?
Closing our funding round is definitely number one, to be honest, Steve. You know, as I say, like, we're looking at taking this business to the next stage. We are here, you know, it's the conundrum of the catch-22 for startups. You know, you have to have cash there to keep it all going and to gain the traction quick enough. So we definitely want to build out our technology and move away from working with these early adopters that we have to actually start transforming this industry one horse at a time. You know, that's our big ambition, I think, for this year. And I think Qatar Sports Tech is definitely going to help us to do that. We're looking forward to that demo day on the 3rd of June.
I think you've always had a massive future. This is only going to kind of help you along your way, without a shadow of a doubt. And I keep on saying this. You'll hear me say this quite a few times. I'm Qatar Sports Tech's biggest fan. I think what they do and how they can change lives is just incredible. You've got to put the work in. It's not something that's going to come and fall on your lap. But as long as you're you're showing that passion and belief and the MVP and showing how it's working, then it's just a matter of time. Yeah,
no, it's great. Thank you very much for the support, Steve. We do appreciate it, definitely.
You really have come a long way. You have come a long way. It's kind of, and it's great to, and everybody, they're from Northern Ireland, right? You're both from Northern Ireland?
Yeah, up the north. Yeah, that's right.
Whereabouts, can I ask?
Yeah.
Down Patrick, so it's the death place of St. Patrick, if anyone wants to know. Yeah. That's our claim to fame.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place. I remember
it is.
I've been to Limavady, Port Rush.
Port Rush, yeah, a little further north.
Night out. I've also been to Belfast.
That's only up the road. It's County Down's beautiful. It is actually big horse country, and it's great. You know, we're 5 minutes from the beach here. We've got mountains. It is a beautiful part of the world. There's no doubt. And, you know, a lot of good things have come from Northern Ireland. So we're hoping to be one of those.
We've given a lot of kind of feedback we've told people about your product. We've told people about your ideas and concepts. And they've picked up a lot of advice with what you said today. It's been a great interview. What other bits of advice would you give a startup that was out there right now?
So find somebody else. You know, I think, as Brendan said, maybe before we were on this, you know, on your own, it's a very lonely journey. I think I feel very lucky that we've kind of been a team on this from word go. And a lot of people said, you know, it'll be challenging doing that with a friend. You know, that could be the downfall of it. And we've found nothing but the opposite, you know. So I think take your own experiences. Don't necessarily take everybody's on board straight away. Like there's definitely, you hold each other up in the dark times, you know, and you push each other forward when the time's right. And that's kind of how it's been. So that would be my piece for anybody.
Yeah, mine would be a wee bit different in terms of, you get a lot of advice from a lot of people. And just because this investor works at the top investment capital firm in San Francisco, wherever, it doesn't mean he's right, because we've been told a lot of advice and it has been very, very wrong. Yeah. So it just because they give you bad feedback doesn't mean it's true. You know, you take it on board and you keep moving forward, and that's definitely what we do at this stage.
Certainly.
And don't accept no for an answer.
Don't accept no. Yeah,
100%. Not while there's a problem out there that needs solved. You know, and that's as simple as there's no need to accept no. Not in this world.
Yeah.
Gents, it's been, as always, a privilege to have been here with you today and interviewed you. You are two wonderful characters, and you deserve every success in the future. What you're trying to do is fantastic. You've chosen industry, and you're putting all your life's work into it.
Oh, indeed. Thank you very much, Steve. And we look forward to catching up when we're next in Qatar.
Yeah, we're definitely going to catch up when you're in Qatar.
We'll get you the coffee and cake.
And bring one of those things with you. We can fit it onto a camel.
Yeah,
because I'm going to get you some meetings on that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, delighted. We look forward to it. I say it was one of the great experiences actually was seeing the camels in training, and I thought it was absolutely fabulous. How similar actually it was to the race horses in that it's amazing, and there's just such passion over there for their animals. So
you've got lots of work to do when you're over here, so get ready.
Yeah, indeed.
Again, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with me and with our guest. It's been wonderful, honestly.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
And before I go, don't take no for an answer. Knock on those doors. Not everybody's going to say yes to you, but it doesn't matter, because there is going to be somebody that says yes. Okay, keep on knocking, keep on finding that person that's going to say yes. There is somebody out there that's going to back you. You've just got to work hard. You've got to show determination, and you just haven't got to give in. Everybody, thanks for watching the show today. It's a privilege to come to you again. Until next time, bye for now. Everyone, thank you for listening. Please send us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And don't forget to review us on your favorite podcast app.